Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
Delaney's OK Tire in Langley inbox. Brinsley making a point here. Simple when it comes to Berchi cap hit.
Yeah.
This has been talked about forever, and then some, making over $3 million a year. Canucks near the line, so all of that. Our Tuesday guests are sponsored by Skipper Auto, supporting Canadian fishing families through a revolutionary seafood buying experience. Check them out online at skipperauto.com as we bring in, as we do every Tuesday, TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. Craig, thanks for doing this. How are you, sir?
I am good, Donnie. How are you?
Very well, very well. Better than they are up in Edmonton. So they lose 4 straight to the Winnipeg Jets, lose 3 overtime games in 4 nights. Was this about bad luck for Edmonton, or is there someone or some people to blame?
Well, I mean, it depends what lens you want to look through it with, Donnie, because it's bad luck if you're an Oilers fan. But, you know, games are tight. You know, the playoff games are tight. And, you know, there's a lot of different factors that go into the end result. But, you know, is it surprising? It's surprising to me that Edmonton got swept in 4 games. I can't imagine that it wouldn't be surprising to the Winnipeg Jets that they swept the Edmonton Oilers in 4 games. But I think what ends up happening when I take a step back and I look at the Edmonton Oilers, I think last night was a microcosm of a far bigger problem. How many times have we said, if Draisaitl and McDavid don't score, rarely do the Oilers win? Well, that tells you that they're short in an insignificant part of the game. We saw in the first 2 games, they really played really well defensively. And when you play really well defensively, well, they couldn't score, so they lose. Then, you know, when they do score and they need to open it up, well, they're not so good at defending, and they're not so good at playing with a lead, so they coughed up leads. That speaks to a problem. Then you look at overtime last night, and Dave Tippett goes down to 4 defensemen and 3 lines. That means 5 players he had on his bench. He said, I don't think they can help us. I don't think they can help us win. And keep in mind that Gaetan Haas and Devon Shore, who were healthy scratches in the first 2 games, were part of the 3 lines that were playing. So it tells me that he's playing players that weren't good enough to start the series that are really 4th-line players. And really what he's telling you is those other 3 players are 5th-line players. Well, if that doesn't scream to a lack of, I've used the word imbalance in their lineup, then I don't know what does. And that's the bigger problem for the Edmonton Oilers. And, okay, you win, you find a way to win an overtime game or 2, and the series is 2-2 or whatnot. It doesn't change. It doesn't change the imbalance they have in their lineup. And for the Winnipeg Jets, you know, you look at their 9 forwards, you look at the goaltender, you look at a couple of really good, solid defensemen, and they could adjust and take advantage. And Ken Holland knows. He knows what the issue is. He knows what the problem is. And he inherited a situation where the salary cap situation was a disaster. It was a disaster. He's going to come out of that this summer, and now Ken Holland can get to real meaningful work.
In what ways, and we talk so much about the Oilers and their disappointment and them losing in 4 straight, but what about the Jets? In what ways have they impressed you?
Well, I mean, I've called their top 9 forwards with Ehlers and Dubois back in the lineup a perfect 10. Just look at those 9. I mean, Paul Maurice sits there and goes, I can move players around. I can switch players into different situations. I can, if one line has a burden on him in a game, he can put another line up there. He had Lowry, Kopp, and Appleton playing against McDavid. Like, I mean, you do that because you have confidence in your group. And, you know, they play, they can score, they can check, they got size, they got skating ability, and they're smart, and they can really play. I mean, what team, people are going to have a real hard time convincing me that the top 9 of the Winnipeg Jets, that there's a team in the NHL that has a better top 9, because I don't think there is one. That's why I call it a perfect 10. So then I go further. We know Hellebuck is good, yep. and then you deploy a really good system of team play, and that's what the playoffs are about. Okay, what gives us the best chance to win? The Winnipeg Jets knew what their challenges were. We can't give up a lot of quality chances. As good as Hellebuck is, we got to take the burden off of them. They did that. And that's what tipped the scales, I think, not significantly in their favor, but enough in their favor where not only could they beat the Edmonton Oilers, but they got to a point where they said, playing this way, we know we can beat the Oilers. And they did.
Hey, Craig, we're going to find out this week if the Sedin twins are going to join the hockey operations here in Vancouver. What are your thoughts when you hear two legends, two of the best players in the history of the franchise, possibly joining the front office?
Well, it's real nice. It's real lovely. I mean, I think two wonderful people in Daniel and Henrik that have embraced Vancouver, embraced the Canucks organization, and have contributed a lot to the Canucks organization on the ice. Off the ice now, completely different story. And I think that you're talking about smart people that have really good people around them. And I talk about J.P. Barry, Pat Brisson, that really can guide them. They're green as the grass. They're green as the grass when it comes to management. And you know what? They want to get involved. They want to be invested. Good. Understand what it is. Understand that there's going to be a time frame and there's going to be an education that's ongoing as they learn about the management side of things. And you got to accept that. I watched Steve Yzerman, for 4 years work under Kenny Holland in Detroit before he was ready to, leave the nest and spread his wings. Mm-hmm. If you think it's going to be any different for the Sedins, then you're just delusional.
Craig, we haven't talked to you since the word in Vancouver was that Benning and Green are both going to be back. Your thoughts on both those people being retained by the Canucks?
Well, I said it last week that I would retain them. I've said that I think Jim's done some really good work, and I think that Jim has made some mistakes, and I think we all know what they are. But I also look at the situation he took over, and it wasn't pretty. And there's some really good, I think, what I call instrumental players in place for this team. And I think that last fall, I think every indication was that they were prepared to take a step back with the uncertainty of this NHL season and how it was going to have an impact on the operating revenue, on the revenue, operating wise. Mm-hmm. So, but I still think they have lots of good things in place, and we all know, I think I've said this, Jim Benning knows what the mistakes are. I don't think there's any question that he does, and you don't want to repeat them. And I think that, with Jim and Travis coming back, I think it affords the Vancouver Canucks a real good opportunity to carry forth with the good work that has been put in place by both of them.
And Craig, Leafs now up 2-1 on the Habs. What have the Leafs shown you since losing Game 1 and losing John Tavares?
Well, what I mean, obviously that's a real significant blow to the lineup. It was a blow in the immediate aftermath of John Tavares' injury. But I think the players, the team, righted themselves. If it's not for Carey Price, this series is 3-0. And don't be fooled by the scores. And hey, listen, Carey Price is a part of the team. I'm not trying to just say he's not. He has given them a legitimate opportunity to believe that they have a chance to not only win games, but to be in the series. And Toronto has played exceptionally well and really carried significant play. So, but if Montreal doesn't find a way to score, and right now, if you watch how Toronto's playing, I think they learned from Game 1, we can't feed into the transition game, because that is the only way Montreal scores, the only way they score. So don't give them those opportunities. I think that Toronto's done a really good job. And now Carey Price comes in with 3 and 4 back-to-back. He's been under duress. And I think that for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they played really well. But goaltending, we've seen it again and again and again. It can be a real X factor come playoff time for a team that really doesn't hasn't found a footing in a series. All of a sudden they're in it, and now they believe they can win it.
Outstanding. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, Craig. Thanks so much for this.
Okay. Thank you, Donnie.
TSN Scouting Director Craig Button.